And welcome to episode 550 of the GodIsAGeek.com podcast. My name's Adam Cook. I'm your host. I'm here with Chris Hyde and Lyle Carr. How are you both? You both all right?
Cosmic.
Wow.
Yeah, doing great. We're back. We're back by popular demand, and people have missed us, I'm sure.
I'd love
Well,
to
how
think
can they
so.
not? How can they not?
Could they not?
Yeah.
Great energy, guys. We're ready
Even the host doesn't want us to be here, Lyle.
My enthusiasm is matched only by the listeners' enthusiasm for us to be back.
Yes.
It's a really weird week because it's really busy. Like, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like, we are approaching the period where usually, historically, things calm down a bit, and then you get the klaxon for like the summer game stuff, and then it goes up again, and it just doesn't seem to have ever let up this year, and like that.
It's insane because we were like, we'll never see a year like 2023.
Yeah, it kind of seems worse. Well, not worse in terms of quality, but in terms of how the volume.
It's
like
like
this
it never
week's
stopped.
games. Like,
It
if
didn't
you
stop.
people who are watching it, whether on YouTube or listening on the podcast apps for your phone or whatever, you'll see the name of the three games that we're going to talk about: Animal Well, Lorelei, and the Lorelei, and the Laser Eyes, and Foundry. And these three games couldn't be more different.
No, not really.
Yeah,
and that's not intentional. It's just that's kind of the ones we've been playing. I mean, So I guess we just get started. Let's tuck into Animal Well. Lyle, you reviewed it. I've forgotten at this point. I think you give it a 9?
9
out of
I
10.
think a 9.
I've finished. Yeah. Well, I say I've finished it. We'll get to that. I've seen credits of that game.
You've seen credits. That's fine.
Yeah.
You've finished it enough that you can say you've finished it, and that's all that really matters. So, Animal Well is right. You know how there's been Metroidvanias this year, guys.
No, I'm not. I'm
well.
unfamiliar with the genre.
No. Walk us through it, Lyle.
Okay, so if you take like Metroid and Castlevania and you smash them together, like angrily smash them together.
Is that why people say that word, Metroidvania? Is it because the... So listen, in all seriousness, right? Do you consider Animal Well to be a Metroidvania?
I think so. Yeah, it's maybe a little bit lighter on some of the elements of the genre, I'd say, and it has no combat, which is interesting.
Yes.
But you get new items that help you get to new areas, and you find collectibles. Like, is that kind of the genre?
Well,
is that how it works?
You see, this is the thing, right? I'm not sure anymore, because we've got to the point where I feel like the Metroidvania genre itself is like big enough that you can actually get a Venn diagram of like, here's where this one's fit, and then there's an overlap. So it's like that. They're kind of. It's certainly Metroidvania adjacent, but like it's also a puzzle game. I think predominantly a puzzle game, a 2D puzzle game. I don't know. I think it is. I don't even know anymore. Let's just call it one.
It's a very intriguing game though, because there's not really any setup. You're just a little blob in a well, and it's got this cool sort of like weird subterranean vibe.
You're in a well, presumably.
You're in a well, so I guess and there's animals in that well, and some of the animals aren't too bad, and some of them really want to kill you, and they probably
the ducks
will.
seem to be quite friendly.
There's
one duck I remember, he quacks at you every time you walk past, and I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah, there's nice little chinchillas you can ride on a bit.
Yeah,
they're
true.
Quite friendly.
Yes. Yeah. You can.
There's all sorts
I was
of
getting
animals.
spoiled, but I don't know if it's a spoiler or not. You can use one of the items with a chinchilla to do things.
You can. That doesn't sound acceptable, but I promise it is. But yeah, it's like how the game really works.
Walk the dog.
You walk the dog. You can walk the dog.
Let's walk the dog, and that's it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Or walk the chinchilla, I guess.
Walk the chinchilla. Yeah.
But realistically, it's a game where you get all these different items, and they help you sort of solve different puzzles and progress around this map. But you don't. The only thing that's really guiding you is there's like 4 little markers on your map in each corner of the not particularly big map either. It's quite a small. For a Metroidvania, I feel like it's on the smaller end in terms of like the size of the overall area. But you get different items and they help you in different ways. But one of the things that's really cool about the game is how they're not like, it's not you get the double jump, you get the air dash, you get the crouch, you get the slide under things. Like it's you get a yo-yo, and how can that help you solve things? Well, you might be able to hit a switch with it in a certain way, or use it for other things. You get a slinky, and it's like, why does the slinky help? Why? In what world do I need a slinky to get through this?
That slinky, like I got so stuck on one of the Switch puzzles in that game because I forgot you could just use it as like a block. Like you could just stick it on a Switch.
Shove it there.
Like there's a. No, it's too spoilery. It's quite late on before the credits. Like there's one particular room where you have to press 3 switches, and it reminded me a little bit of Celeste in terms of one of the mechanics. I'll say that in case that sort of makes you realise what I'm talking about.
I think I know what you mean, yeah.
And I was like, I do not understand how I can press these 3 at the same time until it was like, oh, the slinky can just be used to just... And it was like, oh, this is not one of the hard puzzles, Adam. This is not...
Actually
not
difficult.
the difficult part of the game.
Yeah, but a lot of the game will be spent figuring out ways to use your items to hit switches. Hitting switches is a pretty key part of Animal Well.
Yes.
But yeah, when you figure out the right way to do that, it really helps. It's a tough game to describe because I feel like anytime you talk about a puzzle, you potentially spoil like how each of these items work, because pretty much all of them have like 1 or 2, maybe 3 sort of ways to use them. That's a question
I was going to ask you actually, because I know just by mistakes. I mean, there's an achievement for finding another way of getting around, and I think multiple items can.
Believe,
yeah, there is. I thought I was going mad because I got one. I'm sure I was playing on Steam Deck, and I switched to PC, and I was using a different item, and I'm sure I got the achievement again. But I think you're right. It's a different.
Yeah, it's like just learning how to get around using these items, and it's really interesting just because it's like they're sort of expecting you to experiment, play around with the items you get. You sort of have to experiment to figure out how you deal with some of the puzzles, because a lot of the puzzles in the game aren't particularly like leading you easily into the solution. You have to sort of play around with things, and I mean, alongside that as well, I think one of the things I really appreciated about the game is that it's really like open. You're not really guided into any direction. You'll just sort of you'll wander off in a direction. You'll maybe get an item. You'll maybe get to a puzzle where you're like, I don't fucking understand how to do this. So you'll wander off in another direction. And it might be that you needed 2 or 3 of the items at the same time to realistically be able to solve that. So it's never really a case of like, here's my objective. I'll go there first. I'll tick this off. And then, I'll go and get the next one. Or there's not a specific order. It's more sort of like, I've gone in this direction. Oh, I've got this really helpful item. Oh, I bet I could use that to go this direction where I've kind of was stuck before. And then you might find another item and you figure out you can use them together.
I've seen it compared to the likes of Fez.
Yeah,
I get it. I get why. I don't quite think it's that, because it's a bit more of a platform.
You're not scanning QR codes.
No. But it's... Yeah, I mean, what I'd say about this game is that having had a bit of time, I keep saying I finished it. I've seen credits. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. It is a really clever game. Like there is so much about it that is clever, because it really is the opposite of whatever the opposite term for hand holding. It's very hands off. Like it really does. Like it was only like restarting it I was like, oh yeah, you just start and go. Like there's nothing.
You just
it doesn't even really say, hey, those 4 flame icons, go to them. You just kind of know to, because you've played a video game before.
It literally just gives you that squirrel thing, doesn't it? For a bit.
Yeah, which I guess is a bit of literally hand holding, like follow the squirrel, and that sort of. Yeah,
but even that is like in other games, like when you have to follow something like that, because that's quite a well used thing, right?
Yeah,
it would be in like every other room, and you'd this. Whereas you can get into a room and see the squirrel and it fucks off, and then it's like don't see the squirrel again for 5 more rooms. You don't know if you've gone the right way, because there's different ways you can go, and then there's a fucking squirrel again.
But
okay.
That's the key thing. I don't think there is a wrong way. I think that's what Lyle was saying earlier. I don't think there is a wrong way, and I do appreciate that. Although there are moments where you're like, well, I'm sure I'm supposed to be here. And there was a room where I was like properly stuck. And in fact, I had been texting Lyle about this room, and obviously not asking for spoilers, but it was a certain room involving a dog. And I had then, when I got to the point where I could actually, but that was actually where I needed to go, because now I had an item that I could go that way. But I'd forgotten that room existed because I spent so much time exploring elsewhere, and I was like, I just don't. And then it comes to you. I will also say that I think for a game with no combat, and I use the term boss fights loosely, and I won't just spoil them. They're every one of them's really cool, like really cool.
And there's like quite a few of them really. They're not that uncommon. There's enough of them anyway. But yeah, they're all completely different. And
they don't even sort of like, oh, you're in a big boss fight. You just kind of, it's part it flows. The flow state's natural. You go into a room, you can kind of tell. Usually, you're getting it after you've done one. You kind of have an inkling. Oh, hang on, I think I might be, because I'm near. Once you've done one flame, so to speak, you see you're near a flame. You're like, well, something's going to need to be done here.
Something's going to happen.
Like the last one I did, and this won't mean anything to people who haven't played it, but for Lyle it will. Like the last one I did was like the dolphin one. And that was kind of the easiest one in that I kind of really... It's not one where you can actually die. Well, I suppose you could fall off into the water, but there's no like one-hit kill thing or anything. And that was like... It was quite low-key. And it does make you go, well, hang on, was I supposed to come here first? But
that was the one I came to first.
Oh, there you go then. So maybe you were supposed to. That was the last one I did, and then I unlocked the last area. It is a fascinating game. And I sense Chris is sat there... quietly.
Well, I'm intrigued.
No. So I think there's definitely a thing at the start where you don't know that you're not supposed to know, or sorry, you don't know that it's open ended. Like it's a link between worlds to a link versus a link to the past, right? So the danger that you can have with it, because I had this, right? I had this. So you don't know that whether you'll get to a because Metroidvania could mean. I've got to a place when I haven't got that item yet. I need to go somewhere else first. That's normal. If you think you've hit a dead end,
and it's fairly obvious as well. Like, in some games, it's like this door's red. Can't go through a red door.
Literally in Metroid, it's like it's a fucking colored door. But like but you know what I mean. Like you come and get across something, you can't figure it out, and the assumption could be I've got to come back. I'll remember that. I'll come back here. Whereas actually, what could be what I guess in Animal World, because I went down a certain route with fucking dogs, right? And ended up backtracking and ended up in what I think was towards a different flame, right? And once I kind of got quite far in that one, it twigged that it was like I think you can do any of these. But at the time when I was in the dog area, I was like, this is not area 1, because I didn't know it was an open.
Yeah, for sure.
Metroidvania, because normally a Metroidvania is a bit more guided, at least in sort of the main path you're supposed to take. Then there's obviously offshoots and stuff. So I do think that it's not an issue. But if you don't know that, if someone tells you that before you start playing, I think it's really fine, because then you go, okay, whatever. But I think I genuinely thought I was going the wrong way, and so came back to the middle and then went off to another way.
Yeah, and I imagine it makes a big difference depending on like what sort of person you are playing a game. Because I don't really recall any times in this game I was thinking I'm stuck or I'm doing this wrong. I was just sort of like I'm going this way, just sort of free spiriting about. I didn't feel lost or not sure what I should be doing next. I was just like, well, I've looked in this direction for a bit. Oh, cool, a new thing. Oh, I can maybe use this over there. But like, I totally get it in that like. You definitely it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't let you know how. And
that is fine. I don't mind not hand holding, by the way. I quite like the mystery and the exploration and the discovery. And like I say, I the thing you're talking about in terms of exploration and progression and stuff, I definitely got that in the second area. Like I say, probably the wiring of my brain in a certain room where I couldn't quite figure it out, and so I defaulted to I've obviously got to come back to here like later because of the Metroidvania-ness of it. So
well, I think as well, because it doesn't shuffle you towards a dead end where you would normally find a power. It doesn't do that. It doesn't really ever shuffle you towards any end, like you say. No. So, and what the genre would normally do is it would shuffle you in a certain direction, or even 2 of 3 directions. Like I'm thinking of like early access, so it's not really fair, but Ender Lilies, like it shuffled me towards a direction, and there's literally a wall that says we're still in development, you can't go this way, and I'm like, well, okay, that's as much of a go the other way as you're ever going to get. That's the other end of the stick. But like in this, in the genre traditionally, you would get sort of pushed one way or go one of few ways, and there would be a power. And it, like I don't know, it's not random. It's obviously designed meticulously well, because it is. Because it's difficult. I think it's too soon to talk about some of the post-credit stuff. Actually, I will just say, like you can get this game.
You haven't finished the game by seeing credits. Is the point?
Yeah.
No, I don't know if I quite agree with that. I just think you've seen credits, and if you want to stop there, I think that's fine.
It's like a
absolutely
perfectly
acceptable.
fine place to stop,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
But there is a good amount more. And I
Yeah.
think there's like secrets that haven't been so. I mean, it's
I
weird.
imagine
This game's
so.
become a speedrunning game. It's kind of like for the size and scale of the game. Not only is it so meticulous and clever about how it's designed, it's sort of a lot of things at once. It is a puzzle game. It is kind of a Metroidvania. It's kind of this. Yeah, it's just a lot. I really do like it. It's not like I've seen. I know people have sort of gone gaga over a little bit, and it's like this is the greatest game. I don't think it's that tier. I do think it's very impressive, especially for the size of the team. And it also, the other thing about it is that, I guess if you've not got from what we've said already, just to spell it out, it's really quite unique. Like you said, Lyle, there's
really
no combat.
unique, yeah.
And this isn't like there's no combat. Traditionally, there's no combat. Like there's none. Like unless again, I haven't seen all the post game stuff. I doubt it. And there's so much that you get, and you're like, what's that? What's going on here? There's so much we could talk about, but
yeah, and I think that's why it has clicked so well with quite a few communities. I think it's so different. It's not something that you can really get anywhere else, despite being in a very familiar genre and realistically
a crowded genre. Some might say, like
crowded, yes. Being a game where you're a little blob and you can jump around and you maybe solve a few puzzles. Like it doesn't seem like there should be that much.
Sounds like my autobiography. Carry on.
Yeah, it's very nice to have seen it click so well with so many people, though. It's because it's such an interesting, curious case study, I suppose, in what some people really want. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Anyway,
as we sort of segue into our next game, it's worth saying.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to use that exact line to segue into the next game.
I was just thinking about how I said like these games couldn't be more different, and when we were talking a little bit back, and we were talking about how Animal World doesn't hold your hand in that, I was looking at the list of games we're here to talk about and thinking, do you know what? Compared to the next game, I think it does.
Yeah,
and like again, we want to talk Venn diagrams, which we seem to be doing apparently this week. Is that like if Animal World's the kind of mid ground of holding your hand, and Foundry later on is like it really can hold your hand. You can follow paths. Lorelei or Lorelei, I'm not sure actually how you say it. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes does not hold your hands, Chris Hyde.
No, and it doesn't give a fuck if you like hand holding.
It doesn't hold your finger. It doesn't brush past your fingernail casually and go, "Oh, I'm ever so sorry, I touched your fingernail there. It was an accident."
Exactly, yeah.
It's so standoffish.
Yeah, it is. So,
and it's a puzzle game as well.
It's a puzzle game. It's like a. Well, I mean, how best to describe it? I guess it's like a point and click with free movement, because it's not point and clicking to move, but it's like fixed environments around this.
It reminds me of Resident Evil in the terms.
Yeah,
of
it is. There is a bit of Resident Evil because of the
original Resident Evil.
Yeah. Original Resident Evil, because you basically. The majority of the game is spent like in this hotel, and you're visiting this hotel, and all is not what it seems. And basically, it's a heavy puzzle game with a heavy dash of mind fuckery in it as well, right? So, but in terms of the standard of the puzzles, like I love the fact Adam messaged me about 5 minutes into the game.
Oh, thanks, mate. I didn't know that you were going to actually say
no with what you said, but he
minutes.
literally said something along the line. I'm probably misquoting you, but you went, "Fuck me, maths already."
No, that was not a misquote. That is
and it's like, and yeah, literally one of the first puzzles is you've got to do some maths, right? And it's like, Jesus, like
I think this game tells you. Get a pen and paper out, doesn't it?
Yeah. So the game. Fucking, this is like Zork shit, right? The game literally wants you to write stuff down. Now, in defense of the game, you do have what's called a photographic memory. So a lot of the relevant stuff that you come across when you read books and notes and stuff around the hotel, or relevant piece of information, do get stored in the menus, right? And we'll come to the menus in a minute. So you don't have to write everything down, but not everything that's relevant is always stored in the memories. So there is, there is, I think I threw away, no, I haven't. Here we go. Post-it notes upon post-it notes of stuff.
For those just listening to the audio version, Chris Hyde has held up a lot of post-it notes.
I've thrown away...
A serial killer level.
Yeah. I've thrown away some of the... I also went onto these... whatever these are called. The
pieces of paper, I think.
no, they're like cue card type things.
No,
they're even
I know.
bigger than.
Okay.
So like, yeah, and there's certain things like literally, there's certain things in the game where it's like. You've always got to write down everything you can see because it's going to test you on it. There's those kind of things in as well. So I'm like, literally, fucking hell, there's this going on. So there's loads of stuff. So it doesn't, but it does encourage you to write shit down and then come back to it. So it's very much, you wander around this hotel and pick up bits of information by reading books or whatever, and then you've got to piece together.
So much information.
So a lot of information. There's so many documents. Thank God that photographic memory menu exists because you just forget half of it at least. So, and then you've got to combine them in so many different ways. You could be looking at, I'm trying not to spoil, you could be looking at a clock or Roman numerals or other things. And you just
don't mention the Roman numerals.
No,
please.
But like, there's so many different things that kind of goes, okay, we did that, he did that, and you apply that logic to it, and also don't forget that, and then that's one puzzle just to unlock one padlock to get through one door to then come across 3 more parts of a different puzzle you haven't even started yet.
This game makes you learn. I've been thinking about this quite a lot. No, I know you knew you'd laugh at me there, but it does, right? So you mentioned the Roman numerals, so let's get into this. Early on in the game, you find a note, and it tells you. You know when you watch a TV show and at the end it comes up and it's like MCX.
Yeah.
And everyone, I reckon, at some point has gone, I wonder what that means. I bet you Chris Hyde knows now. I bet you, because there is a bit where you get an explanation of the Roman numerals.
I knew Roman numerals before
let me
this
rephrase.
game, but yes.
There is a piece of paper where it literally tells you what, I can't remember now, but like what M means, what C means. I mean, we all know 1 through 5 or 10 or 20. We all know a small amount.
You need to know your LCDs and M's.
You need to know the lot. And I was like, when I carried on and I kept coming back to it. Look, I'll be upfront about this and say I absolutely respect this game and think it's such a brilliantly well-made game. And we want to talk about clever video games like Animal Well, which is clever. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is clever in a way that it is too clever for me. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. I've never sat here and gone, well, I'm the most smartest person in the room. But it's too clever for me. Like you hit the nail on the head. And for me, that's what sort of battered me away. Is you solve a puzzle, right? But you have solved the puzzle that then lets you solve the puzzle. Like, you never just go in, find something, and you're like, yep, I've worked that out. It's a maths thing. No, it's like, hang on, I need to go out, I need to work this out over here and solve that puzzle because that gives me the solution to then unlock this puzzle so I can do the puzzle that then unlocks that puzzle. And to me, it was just like a bombardment. And I'm not saying I'm thick or I'm not saying I'm intelligent, but it's just too much for me. And again, fine. Call me thick in the comments. I don't care.
We had conversations. Yeah, we had conversations about it, and I was just like, I don't mean to be a dick, but it is too much for you. Like we
say that,
all...
Lyle. By the way,
yeah, I did. I had to try to find
I was like, oh wow. I mean, this must be pretty brainy if he's outright saying that.
Yeah, it was more like, mate, don't spend any more time on this game. You won't. Because
I want to be clear. I don't think it's bad. Like,
no,
I really don't.
I'm going to talk about the good bits in a minute.
It's really well made. It looks beautiful. The puzzles are like I mean, the team at Simogo, I've always liked their games. Simogo's games. They did a lot of mobile, and this is like their first puzzle game, I guess, outside of those mobile games that were puzzle based, because they did Sayonara Wild Hearts that was console based and couldn't have been more different aesthetically and art wise. Very much them. They've always got a unique style. They must be geniuses. Like, when you get honestly, like mental IQ. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like we joke, right? About like, oh, we've got a maths geek or whatever, or a puzzle guy or whatever, right? And that is me. I enjoyed this game, but it is very much for that type of person that enjoys a brain teaser. It isn't for like a casual game. This is not a casual sort of.
But this is the thing, right? I like
game.
A brain teaser. Like, I want to talk about a game, for example, like Portal 2. Now, Portal 2 has got some challenges, the way they deal with the physics of it and the solutions as such, that sometimes I remember that being one of those games where I was like, I can't. And you come back the next day a bit less tired, a bit fresher, and you solve it, and you're like, oh, I am a genius. This is like a level above.
Honestly, like,
I've ever
some of the puzzles I solved like after a while, and it was like one of the numerous times. And I'm not afraid. I'm not ashamed. I'm a little bit ashamed to say this, but I'm going to fucking say it anyway. You go. It's so kind of involved and you go, well, it can't be that. That'll be stupidly involved. Like that can't be the solution. And it ends up being the solution. I've actually said to myself, if this ends up being the solution, and it is, I'm like, I actually said, I am fucking James Bond at the fucking computer, because I was just like, I felt so proud and clever, and I know that's arrogant, but like, I'm telling you now.
No, this is a testing game, not psychologically.
It's not really a spoiler because you learn this very early on, right? And hey, there's a guide on the site about the stuff I'm about to say. But like, there's shortcuts in the hotel, right, to help you get around quicker as you open up more of the game, right?
Before you mention this, can I just quickly interject, because Lyle obviously hasn't played it at all. You know how in like a Souls-like or something, when you fight your way through an area,
and then you open a gate.
Yeah.
In this, it's like no, the shortcut's right there, but you're gonna have to solve a billion puzzles. And it's like it's. I feel like I'm complaining about it, but I do respect it.
There's like a puzzle for each one, and I solved one of them, and I was like, it'd be one of those ones that if I had thought of it and given it to you guys and then told you what the solution is, you'd be like, oh, fuck off, Chris. Fuck off.
Do you not think like this is quite a unique game in that, like, I genuinely, I mean, I'm sure there's people who've played games that are mentally hard, but I think this is like a new level of like challenge.
In terms of, I don't think because I don't think there are that many games where it's almost like kind of brain teaser.
Yeah.
Kind of, when it's a puzzle game, there's more normally like, it's like patterns and stuff. It's not this kind of thing. It's like
moving blocks around.
This switch and block and things like that. It's more spatial awareness.
Yeah, this is
a game. This is like very much. Oh no, that book you read 2.5 hours ago had a year in it on page 2 that had a red underline that you might want to remember. And then if you translate that into Roman numerals, read it backwards and in a different language, you might get half the solution. It's kind of, honestly, it's like
I've never played anything quite like this.
No, I loved it because it really did sort of test me, and like to the point where I was like, it's gonna sound really like a cunt. Like even I was like, it's beating me, and then I pass some bits and I feel clever because like sometimes in puzzle games you just go, well, without being an arsehole, that bit didn't really challenge me. It just took me a couple of goes and it's fine. That's not a bad
and
thing.
Everyone's got a different.
Yeah, I know. I do think
thinking like the what was it, Dr. Kawashima's brain training.
Yeah.
Where eventually they did it and then they split it up or whatever it was called. And they split them into different kinds of puzzles. And like everyone's got that one they excel at and that one that they're always like. It might be a memory thing. It might be that it's going to show me 6 pictures and you've got to remember. Like everyone struggles with kind of a different.
Yeah,
kind of puzzle.
That's a really good point actually that I was going to make, because you think about something like I don't know, like Islands of Insight or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like that's like you could do the same puzzle but 20 different times, 20 different puzzles of the same type. That's not this. This is like one puzzle done once and then it's a different type of thing. So unfortunately you don't get into that comfort zone of like I know how to tackle this type of puzzle. So it feels different than something like an Islands of Insight, even though that is very cerebral as well.
Yeah, just in a different way.
In a different way, and obviously Islands of Insight, because of the simplicity, is very accessible.
But I'm curious about the bombardment, right? Because at the start, I mean, you tell me if I'm being unfair. In terms of puzzles, it bombards you at the start of the game. Like you've seen the Google Doc that I have you I stopped looking after a while because it made me sad.
Yeah. So what it does, the other thing that it does is it kind of.
What I was going to ask is, does it keep doing that throughout? Because I felt like whenever I played it was like, I was going to solve this, and you've given me 15 more. Yeah.
So it tracks. So what the game does do a really good job of actually is you come across a puzzle like a locked door or something, a puzzle that doesn't think it will make a note of it in a notebook in the menu, and it literally lists all of the ones you've still not solved, and normally it doesn't filter them or anything, so you've got to trawl through, but you can see what you've still got outstanding to solve, and then it crosses through it once you've solved it, right? So you don't have to remember what are the 27 puzzles or things I've still not figured out. They're in that notebook. But yeah, I did I started tracking it in a Google Doc to try and keep track of it and color coded it and various other things. It is a lot. It is a lot, and it's for a very certain type of person.
Yeah.
And there's a very, I guess, in that sense, a high barrier to entry. But it is very well done. The aesthetic to it is really nice and engaging. The story is really kind of moody and clever and engaging and interesting and mysterious. I like it. The biggest negative I have to say about it, and you know what I'm going to say, Adam, and it's something so fucking fundamental that it needs a quick patch to fix it. In the menus, there isn't a fucking back button.
No, every button does the same thing.
Every button does the same thing.
It's like action.
So you go through the menu, and just through pure muscle memory of every other game ever, you press
every other game you've ever played.
I think you press the B button, which is actually down on the Switch, which is what I was playing on. But like, it's like you go back. I'm going to go back. No, I have to navigate to the little cross icon to get out of it. So you press B, and it actually goes back into the menu you're trying to get out of, and you go, oh, for fuck's sake, I've got to come out. And that happened to me so many times. And
well, it happens with the puzzles as well, because the puzzles are, while they're all cerebral, they are physical. So like once you've worked out a code for, say, a 4-digit code, you have to tap that code in. And when you first go to a code and you find one, you might be like, I don't know what it is. So rather than just being a button to just back out, you have to just put 4 random digits in, and then it'll go, meh, you know. And to be honest with you, I think that might come from like the fact that Simogo has a lot of experience developing mobile titles. So I think what you would do is, if it was on an iPad, you just tap. You know, you'd be touching.
Touch screen would be fine because
I don't know. That's a complete guess, but it felt like such a strange omission. If I was playing this mobile, I wouldn't think that,
and I never got used to it.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you, because I didn't play enough of it.
No, I was still, even, I don't know how many hours, but like even towards the end, I was like, it was still pissing me off, because you'd read something and go, right, I want to go and investigate that thing now. Oh, I'm still back I'm still in the menus. Okay,
it doesn't even matter what button it is. Like, they can make it left trigger.
They all do the same.
No, I mean, they can make left trigger the back button. It would be weird, but they could do that, and as long as you knew it, you could just be like, and also, I would be surprised if they didn't patch that, actually. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it's all part of the aesthetic and intentional, but like, it is a strange choice.
Yeah,
but that's a minor complaint, I suppose.
It is a minor complaint, but it's just an odd one. Yeah, but like it's if people do like properly being puzzled and puzzle challenges and like layered puzzles and not necessarily instantly obvious puzzles, it's definitely a game to get involved in, because it is wrapped up in a mystery and a story which is interesting to experience as well. It's not your normal sort of like, do you know those people that are like, this is the game's recommended difficulty, and there'll be people that are like, yeah, all right, next one up. This is one that's like, no, you will get your ass slapped down if you go where it says to you like, like I said, it says at the start, get yourself pen and paper out, be ready, we recommend headphones, blah blah blah. I suspect there are people who are like, damn, all right. I was the person. I was like, I don't need a pen.
That's
and paper.
what I mean. It's like, no,
go fuck yourself. And then the first puzzle, I was like, oh, that's maths. Whatever, that's fine. I can do that. Oh, it's one of the dates you mentioned. Oh, is that how clever you're going to be? And for the first sort of half hour, I was like, fuck you, game. And I was like, okay, hang on, I'm going to get some post-it notes. Like it was, you do, but I can't lie, it sucked me in a lot. It really did. Like it
made me want to keep coming back. I'm not smart enough. I'm not smart enough. Like I said, I said it before, say it again. I'm not.
It does sound like it would. If you're not the sort of person who would enjoy that, it would make you miserable to force yourself to play it. Like,
if you were forcing yourself, it could be something. I think you would know very quickly.
Yes,
this isn't for me, and that's why, genuinely, without sounding like an arsehole, that's why I said it to you. I said, I don't think this is for you. Like,
twice.
I love how it sounds. It sounds so harsh.
Do you know that's not the worst bit? The worst bit is he was right. Like, he was right. He was rarely wrong, and he was right even about that. That's the worst bit of all of it. And it's like it's one of those that's annoying, because everything about I kind of want to know the mystery. I'm not going to look it up, and because maybe I'll come back, but like, it just. No, I won't. I'm lying to myself. No. There's too much other stuff to play, and it's just like I can't. Yeah, it's my Dark Souls, I suppose. It's like it's my get good, but like I can't without going back to school. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Get a good education.
get
God.
smart. Get smart, I guess. Like
It is. Your brain does have to be wired, I think, a certain
You're
way.
going to say your brain has to be a bit bigger than yours.
No. I genuinely think you have to be able to think in a certain way. It's almost like that thing when in like random point and clicks from Goblin, you have to think like the developer. Like, I'll put the sandpaper and the elastic band together. That'll make a boat. It's that kind of. It's not quite that, but you know what I mean. You have to.
Yeah.
The answers to the puzzles aren't instantly obvious, and you have to be able to think in a certain
not.
way to pull shit together. Definitely.
I'm really intrigued to see if this is a game that I would love or not, because I think the
vibe of it you would adore.
Yeah,
absolutely, and the story, and then it just remains to be seen. Like I say, whether you, whether your brain,
whether you're smart
loves
enough, Lyle.
stuff or not.
Well, I mean,
that's why I avoided saying it.
Yeah, I know you did. I'll do it.
I like to think that maybe skew
I like
more
to think you're smarter than
Hyde
Adam.
Cook. Yeah,
I'd
just
like
a
to
little
think
bit.
that too. Yeah.
I did do a bit of a maths degree.
You did
I'm like
yeah.
Chris Hyde light.
Yeah. Yeah,
no
to
joke
be clear,
there.
I didn't
No
have to
gonna...
rock out the calculus for this. Like, to be fair.
Yeah. Wow.
Chris Hyde light. No one else. Okay, fine, sure, fine.
No, the jokes were all about you during that game.
I was trying to reflect a little
Chris
bit.
Hyde's never been light, by the way, just to be really fucking clear.
Thank you. That's all I was asking for. I just wanted a little bit of self-deprecation, and we just it brings the sort of smug level. Just
touch.
It's fine. Let's talk about another game that is very much for a certain type of person. I don't know how long we're going to talk about this, and it's worrying a little bit, but Foundry has been out a little while, and we haven't talked about it on the podcast, and I kind of want to talk about Foundry for a little bit, because I love Satisfactory. I love this kind of game. I don't know why I love this kind of game, but the reason I think Foundry clicks for me, and we talked about this, Chris Hyde, you're not into Minecraft, but you are into Factorio and Satisfactory and the kind of that.
My daughter is heavily into Minecraft at the moment, which is ironic, but yes.
Whether by intention, by design, or accidentally, what Foundry is kind of like Minecraft and Satisfactory, but at the same time.
Yeah.
And by that I mean, it's got all of. I mean, when you first start playing it, if you've played Satisfactory a fair bit, you're like, this is a bit too similar. Like, it is a bit like.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, the first time I played it, I was like, I like this a lot. I love the visuals of it because it's got that voxel sort of blockiness. But I was straight away going like, oh, this is a bit like someone's just seen Satisfactory and gone, okay, yeah,
it's literally like, make some rods and make some plates. Like, Jesus Christ, and we just like making the exact same things as we make in Satisfactory.
It progresses quickly in different ways. And actually, for an early access title, I think it's got a lot of sort of mod cons that Satisfactory may have now, because I haven't played for a while, but didn't have before. And because it's because it's grid-based, like Minecraft, you kind of everything snaps. You can turn that off, but everything snaps in a way that it's like it's satisfactory to snap things into. It's satisfying to snap things into place, but also, so there was a point where when it really came clear to me, this is what this game was like. The two marriages here is that Chris was above ground doing conveyor stuff, and he was literally, I think, doing maths again, where he was working out, right, we need X of this and Y of this. And
I'm not gonna lie, like I was Steam chatting to Adam, flicking between the game and some post-it notes and a spreadsheet, working out 100% efficiencies of machines. That is the truth. I was doing math. I can't.
But the thing is that you know, you were doing that. I was dug underground with a drill, digging out rooms and building a little office. Yeah. Literally a house. Like, what's the? No, you.
We
joked, right?
We joked about like I'm going to build an underground lair, like Doctor.
Yeah,
Evil,
I've done
right?
it now. Yeah.
And then he just did it. It was just
Lyle haven't played Minecraft either, but I'm sure you're. I mean, everyone's culturally aware of that game existing and what it is. Most people tend to do the same thing when they first start playing it. They go, "Oh shit, okay, punch trees, blah. I need to survive the night. Okay, so I'll build a bed and I'll just build a soil-based house around my head." And it always kind of starts that way, and then you build outward of it. And that's exactly what happens in Foundry. You start off small, and you just slowly build out to the point where now, like, you got jetpacks and you're above ground, and like, there's a story there. I mean, there's a story in a lot of these games, but like, it's not. I'm not there for the story, but like, I just love the fact you can be like. I went on it the other day and I built something that had really nothing to do with factories or anything like that. Like I could have been just playing Minecraft. I built something that I could have just done in Minecraft probably. But then I was like, but I could easily have just been sort of making this run better, or do this and researching this. It's interesting. And the other thing, by the way, I want to mention about it that's really odd to me, and Satisfactory has this too. You play it and you're like, because I remember when it was kind of, I think Satisfactory kind of got you into PC gaming, Chris, in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
because it had no controller support, and you're like, you're going to learn how to play a mouse and keyboard.
These are the only types of games where I am absolutely fine using the WASD keys and space and the mouse to move around. Like all other games, I'm like, you better be supporting controllers.
So here's the odd thing about this, right? So Satisfactory, I believe, still doesn't have controller support. Which is not me being like, oh, for God's sake. It's like, I wouldn't know how the hell you'd... I mean, I played V Rising recently, and they've done a decent job of mapping that to a controller, because it's coming to consoles later, PS5, I think. But even that has some issues. You're like, you need to tweak that. That's bad. That bit's bad on controller. It's awkward. With these games, you're like, I'm sure the people making Satisfactory, Factoria came to Switch, didn't it? And Foundry, I'm sure they're like, well, look, there's a big audience who would love this kind of game on PS5 and Xbox and Twitch. We've got to get it on there. But if I was them, I'd be like, how? How do we make this control in a way that it's not just like, oh my God, I hate this. This is so crap. When really it's not crap. It's just a frustrating control system. So I was quite surprised, right, when just to try it on Steam Deck, Foundry not only has... It says it doesn't, by the way. I think it says like it's got partial controller support.
Yeah,
not only does it have controller support, it's better on Steam Deck than it is if I just plug the controller into my PC. Because your normal Xbox controller is your Xbox controller. The Steam Deck's got the 4 paddles, and they're all pre-mapped. So, like, I was like, well, hang on, I'm going to have to use a keyboard, because it's like press G to bring up the research, press C to bring up your crafting menu, press B to bring up your inventory. They're all mapped. Every one of them is mapped to a back button. And I was like, oh, wow. It's so crazy. And I was like, well, yeah, but the one thing you haven't managed to do is there's no button for L, for the light. And I just idly clicked in the left stick, and the light came on. And it's like, now that doesn't work for PlayStation or Xbox, because it doesn't have... Well, you could if you had like the Edge or the Elite.
Yeah.
But that's like 4 missing buttons if you haven't got that. So it's weird that they say it's not supported. Well, I suppose that is partial controller support. But of all of them I've played, this one's like, well, that's quite clever. And like, you use the right stick to just drag stuff, and obviously you've got the track pads if you want to. But it really doesn't need mouse when you're playing it on deck. It's like it's a niche one, to say, oh, Steam Deck for Foundry. But like, it's just I don't know, man. I find this game so unbelievably Moorish, and I find it quite zen. I think everyone... I don't know, Chris, you're probably going to say this, but like, Lyle, do you have a game that is like a zen place for you? Like
recently it's been Balatro. I will go back for a run of that every so often. It's just like it's easy going. It's got poker rules. You kind of know what you're doing once you've been playing it for as long as you have. You don't have to make it ridiculously hard with all the options that you can if you can't be arsed with that. So yeah, that's mine probably.
But do you come away from it like genuinely feeling like calmer? Like, because I could be in a bit of a stressed situation and be like, and in fact I did do it this week. I had a stressful day and I was like, I'm just going to play half an hour of Foundry. Turned into an hour, I built something, and I was like, I genuinely feel calmer, because the thing that I haven't mentioned actually about this is that, so where Satisfactory does have enemies in it and you can get weapons, so far in this, if you're watching this in the distant future, who knows what they've added. At this point, there's no combat in this game. None.
Just like Animal Well.
Just like Animal Well, to bring us back around.
Same game,
nothing can kill you is the...
Yeah, like, well, I built up a massive...
Yeah, okay, actually, never mind.
Yeah. No, I built a massive Skyrim and jumped off it. You just fall straight down. Now, you're a robot, Legs. Like, I guess it's got great suspension. Your robot's in it. And it's just... It's beautiful looking as well. I really like how it looks. It's that voxel Minecraft style thing. It does start off like baby's first factory game, because it's quite hands-on, which is good though, I think, because it also doesn't punish you if you're like, oh, you've played a bit of Satisfactory, you can rush through this. It lets you get on with it. You can sort of get ahead. I'm really intrigued to see where they go, because where we've got to, which is not like end game, it does do this thing like Satisfactory where it really ramps up. Like you need so much of this, this, and this to make that. But I guess you could ignore all that and just go build a nice Sky office or an underground boss man office.
Yeah, I mean,
employee of the month sign on it, like.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, like I love Satisfactory, and I knew I'd love this game. But yeah, you are right, I guess, in terms of what Foundry is. It does feel like they've clearly looked at Satisfactory.
Oh God, yeah.
and they've clearly gone. One, how can obviously we make our equivalent, but also is there anything we can learn from it? And there is clearly a few sort of like quality of life things that they've chosen to put in this. The biggest thing that I always notice is that with Satisfactory, you'll make. You have to make all the parts and then put them together to make something, to then put that in together with something else to make something else more complex and make something else more complex. With this, apart from a few exceptions, if you've got the very basic materials in your, knapsack, then it will make all the bits in stages automatically. You say, I'll make one thing up here, go right, I'll make the 4 things here, then I'll make the 2 things here, and it does it all in a little timer in the bottom. So it's all, it doesn't do it instantly. It goes, oh no, hang on, it takes 2 seconds to make that.
The core things.
Yeah, as long as you've got, and it tells you if
it and it does it.
And it tells you if you've got them.
Yeah,
right? So it'll say, have you got red, yellow? It will highlight in red or amber or green if you've got the stuff to make all of the things you need. If you've got all the core materials, or at any level, if you've got a combination of middle stuff and basic stuff, it will use whatever it can. And that's just a really good idea because it just means that if we then say, oh, I just need some of that, or I just need to build one of those, you haven't got to go off. I need to go to the store. I haven't got this because that's over there. Like, no, you don't have to, as long as you've got the core. So that is really a big thing that I think has meant that.
I think that also shows they've thought more about it than just going, "Oh, we'll have a bit of that."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly.
From what I understand, by the way, this has been around for a long time. I believe this game's been in development for a long time. I think a lot of people have gone, "Oh, it's Paradox Interactive, so it's this massive." I think they're just publishing it. Like this game, from what I understand, and I please correct me if I'm wrong, has been around for quite some time. Like I believe, like it was on itch.io at some point. Like it's been around for a while in development. So it's like there's clearly. It's doing it a disservice to say, "Oh, they've seen something and gone, we could do that."
Yeah, I didn't mean that in necessarily a derogatory way. No. In anything, I meant it's like I say, it's more of a considered thing that they've said. What could our version be, and what would we want the experience to be? And I think what they want the experience to be is a bit more like simpler. Maybe makes it sound like the wrong thing, but a more accessible Satisfactory. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, by the way. Like I think there's definitely a stage where you get to in Satisfactory where it gets really fucking complicated with all the recipes and stuff, and to remember all the stuff. And I think the fact that it goes, you haven't necessarily got to remember all the recipes. You can still see it all right in the menus and stuff. But if you just can automatically make something, that just it makes what I find it makes is that if you're creating something, say in a group, you don't all have to be experts in everything because it'll actually help you out.
Here we go again.
No, I didn't mean that. What I mean is like, I don't mean, oh God, everyone's thick. What I mean is,
there's a lot of concessions to that. Like the one thing I would point to is like water and the way water is handled in this game. So in Satisfactory, I remember we spent quite a significant amount of time trying to work out how to pump water,
working against gravity for about 3 hours.
That's part of the game. Whereas in this, right, I forget the name of the item, but you stick it in some water and then you just chuck pipes out of it, and the water comes up. And that's it. And it will just come up for as long as you need it to. Whereas in Satisfactory, there's water pressure. If you use too much of it, you could add a single bit of pipe and all of a sudden the whole system's going to be balls because you have the water pressure's all wrong now. It's not enough pumps there. There's not enough pumps to push the water down. Whereas this is like, no, the water's coming. You've put a thing in the water. So. And
that's the thing. It depends what kind of, I guess, you want, because actually what Satisfactory is much more realistic. You go, well, obviously, we've been going uphill for the last, the last mile. Of course, water's going to struggle to get up it. We're going to need to help
like going up 500
There's literally vertical fucking pipes in the water. It's like, fuck it, I'll just go up. It's like, well, that's not actually reality. But
I do think that's what I want because I
know
like
that
style of game. I don't think I want to go fully like. I guess it's different
That's what I
between
mean
like a
by
simulation
accessible, not
and a sim. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
And this is what I mean. It's very accessible in that sense
Mm.
because it's taken away some of the complexity that I think puts people off of it. Apart from like the Die Hard, and this is what I was
Yeah.
trying to say in my earlier point. It's not that you're thick. It's just that it just removes that complexity, which means anybody can now do pipes because it's
Yeah.
not. There's not a problem to it. Anybody could go and build a pipe thing without,
Yeah.
you know. Lyle, you could start playing tomorrow, jump in our world and build some pipes. You don't have to understand the whole pumping
Yes.
system and everything
Physics
else.
and water pressure. But
And
I wonder
no,
if it'll
but
get
the
looked
reason
down
why
on a
that's
bit.
the reason why that's important is because, like, you know, Steve jumped into our
Yeah.
well, your world. Actually, I've left mine's fucking baby's first world, but like he's jumped into ours and gone, oh my god, what is all of this? But then he can still get involved. And
The
you'd
second,
be able to do
second
the same.
session, he was not
That's
asking
cool.
those questions as much.
Yeah,
The first
Yeah.
question, he was
First-
a bit like, "There's a lot."
I don't
here
want to
to take
break
in."
anything.
But the second session, we built some new stuff that we hadn't built before, and we took a long time getting it prepared. But we all had our little jobs, and when I finally put this thing together, and it was like the biggest thing we've ever had in the game, and we were all like, "Oh my god, we don't have space for this. Let alone know what it
Yeah.
does." But like that was the second or third session with Steve, and these aren't like 10-hour sessions. Like it is.
Yeah,
You very quickly up to speed with it. Like
yeah.
I really like Foundry. It'd be interesting. I'm really intrigued as to because there's an awful lot there already.
Yeah, I'm intrigued if it's one of those. Right, in all honesty, like it's that's their intended finished game, but it's early access, or actually this is where they've got to developing it, so it's early access, and there's all this extra stuff coming later. It's difficult to know which one of those it is. I hope it's the latter, because Jesus Christ, that'd be amazing. But you never quite know. But yeah, I agree with you. The whole Zen thing, like it really can't. I mean, I get a kick out of like conveyor belts. I always have, you know, and you know,
5-year-old Chris Hyde.
it's just so good, man. When it all works, it's this whole thing where you're like, I designed that in my head. And then I thought it would work in my head. I built it and it did work in my head. I am James Bond. It's like, it is, but you know, I love it. And yeah, I get precious over it, but hey, that's what the risk you get when you play Foundry with Chris Hyde. And
Yeah.
Adam tries to help, and I'm like, nope, not there.
Oh, Lyle, he got so shitty with me over pipes.
I don't understand. From what
It
we've
was really
talked about this
awkward.
week, I don't understand how you two are still friends. Stop
Oh,
playing
it's-
that game, Thicko, and get off my conveyor belt.
So, but this is
I don't touch
this is why.
conveyors, mate. I just don't touch them.
Honestly, the reason why we get on in Foundry is because literally, I'll be the logistics man, and he'll be the one that's terraforming our entire empire and going and figuring stuff out. And so what tends to happen? God, this is going to sound really bad. What tends to happen is we split off and don't talk to each other for about an hour, and then come back and go, "Look what I did."
Well, often I can't
And
be
somehow
found
it
because
matches
I'm
in the
sort of
middle.
subterranean and building secret dens, and
Yeah.
but that's Minecraft. That's
Yeah, I mean, it was great, and I was like, yeah, I've just been, you know, building an R&D department up here and getting you all the research that you want for all of.
And then one time I came back to the main base and it'd just been like totaled and rebuilt, but in like because we didn't need, you learn as you play, and you're like, oh, we don't need to do that. We can, and it was just it was like, well, there's a floor space here now. I can put some more lights up, and I can almost hear him like, fucking lights.
And then I'm just
over
like,
here with a conveyor level 3.
I'm like, Adam, I'm deleting a light because I need to put a conveyor belt down because I can't possibly move it around it because it will look ugly. So I need to move this line.
Yeah. Well, listen. On that
Anyway,
note, let's move
we're
on.
still friends.
We are still friends. Yes, and I really do want to play that game more now because I've built something in it that's a little surprise for you.
I want to see this massive cock and balls that you've built.
Certainly
for me.
is not one of them. Certainly is not one of them. And on that note, let's play the jingle.
Chris Hyde. Listen to Correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde. Okie doke. So Mick sent in a load of questions for us as per, and the first set are for all of us together. The first one says, "What's your favourite game of May so far?" He says as he opens up the file. I don't know if anyone's already got it open.
Yeah, I have, and I'm quite confident that mine won't be the same as you guys. So I'm
Can
going
you
Mine
read them
will
out?
I can, yeah. Endless Ocean, Luminous. This is not all of them. Indica, V Rising, Homeworld 3, Biomutant on Switch, Men of War 2, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, it's out today as we record, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, and then we're into games that aren't out yet, so I don't think there's much point me mentioning them, is there?
No, okay.
But there's loads I haven't mentioned there. I mean, like...
Yeah, mine isn't on that list.
Your
so.
name begins with an M, I reckon.
Do you reckon?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'll go last because, like I say, I'm pretty confident.
Of those, I think I've played one, so I'll say Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. I mean, it's a banging game. It really is, and it's right up my street, so I'll say that.
Okay. Oh, I think I know what yours is, Lyle, and it isn't on that list, is it?
For me, it is Read Only Memories Neurodiver, which the
Sorry,
review
what?
is. It is a.
That just sounds like a load of words. You just want to say that again.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, kind of is. It's a set in the future game where you play as and someone called an Esper who can dive into people's memories and help fix things. And it's a bit point and click adventure-y. It's just really, really good. And there's a review that, unless you're getting this early, should probably be live because I've written about 600 words of it already.
Mine is a game I'm not going to talk too much about, right? Because I don't want to make Chris want to play it more. I played V Rising when it first hit early access, and I was like, it's pretty good, but I'll come back.
Yeah.
I didn't need to play anymore. Like I wasn't personally covering it, and now it's out 1.0, whatever. And I wasn't gonna play it, but like mixed review was like, oh, that sounds kind of everything I wanted it to be when I first tried it. Oh, it's really good. He nailed it in a conversation, obviously that's not in the review, when he said, because basically you can play this game online with servers, and he said like one of the problems is you get people. There's an item you can build like a chest in V Rising where nobody can open it but you. So like you can put your special stuff, as it were, in that, so that you can't get sort of. He said, but people just come along on the servers and destroy your castles and nick your stuff, and it's frustrating. You can play like a private mode, basically, where you can invite people still in people, but not random people.
Yeah.
And he said the words to me, and I hate to say this because it's going to probably make you both want to play it, I reckon, actually. He said, basically, once you do that, it's basically a Vampire Diablo. And he's kind of right. It's not quite as heavy on the loot or XP. It's more crafting, but the combat is Diablo. And you're a vampire. It's powers and stuff. I just got one that lets me turn into a wolf. I'm pretty certain
I played this. I think I did
you
play
did
it
very briefly.
I think I did. And it did give off Diablo vibes.
When you play it like that, and it's like, you are also, it's a bit like, what's that game that Coffee Stain published, Valheim, that everyone loved for a bit. I don't know how it's doing now, where you are knocking down trees. It's that very much that survival crafting thing of that, but also with like a Diablo system, and you get spells, and like I say, because you're a vampire, you can kind of do cool shit like vampires can do, like, turn into a wolf, or it's also got this really interesting mechanic, and I will move on very quickly. You've got a health bar, but you've got a blood bank as well. So to replenish your health, you have to sort of use your own blood bank. To get blood bank, you have to like feed off enemies rather than kill them. So you hit them deep enough, and then you can press F or a button on them. It's really well on Steam Deck as well. I was kind of like, I should have been playing something else, and I was like, I got to have a quick look. I load it up on Steam Deck, because it might be shit on Steam Deck, and it might not even work. It's really good on Steam Deck, by the way. And I was playing it, and like, oh yeah, I was supposed to be doing that thing, and it was like I'd missed 20 minutes of it because it's so Moorish. So yeah, I think V Rising, of the games we can talk about, is my.
I thought I was maybe going to be able to guess yours as something different because of how ridiculously quickly you finished Crow Country.
I did like that, but you know what? I don't think I like it as much as you did. We'll talk about Crow Country, though, I reckon.
We
on another
will
podcast
somewhere, yes. I reckon so.
I reckon that's worth a chat. Sorry, there you go, Chris. Back to you, mate.
That's all right.
One. Sorry, the rest of these answers I'll shut up.
Okay. Bagel with cream cheese or jam?
I did want to just say, that's weird, right? That's a weird question, right?
I mean, I have a really obvious answer.
Well, so do I. That's why I'm so confused about the...
I think we're all going to pick the same as well.
Who has jam on a bagel?
Right, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I've never...
No, I'm all a bagel with cream cheese. Yeah,
I've
banging.
seen a toasted bagel with peanut butter and jam, and that's fine, but he doesn't say toasted.
No, it's weird. Cream cheese, definitely.
Yeah, cream cheese is the answer. I've had Nutella on. They do weird cookie and cream bagels where they've basically got little sort of knockoff Oreo bits in the bagel, and that with Nutella was really good. But I don't know when and why I'd put jam on a bagel. Just doesn't feel right to me.
By far, cream cheese.
Yeah, it's all like
jam for your scones.
Yeah.
This is a weird question. If you could wake up in the morning and eat 3 pastries instead of your usual breakfast with no health issues, would you do it? I assume he means forever, because I'd like to think 3 pastries in the morning would not kill me.
Just that's the end now. You've had your 3 pastries.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, and also it's on the assumption that none of our usual breakfast is just 3 pastries.
3 pastries, which it could be. We don't know yet.
I mean, if we ignore the fact that because I think with this sort of question, I'd get bored of the same things. But if we ignore that, yes, and then we can discuss which ones they'd be.
Yeah, and if I'm allowed to like shuffle them every time.
Yeah, definitely. Then. Yeah.
And then if we're saying we have to like, maybe because this is a weird setting we've turned on in our lives, that these pastries magically appear and I'm not having to like pay for nice pastries or walk to the shop.
And if they're still warm.
Like, fresh ones. Yeah. If they're
What are the 3 pastries that come to mind? Croissant,
cinnamon swirl.
Oh, okay. What, for breakfast?
Yeah.
That's a pastry. That's a good pastry for
I'm
breakfast.
not saying it's not. So I was going to go croissants, pain au chocolat, and then I was probably going to struggle a bit with the third. Cheese twist?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely having cheese twist.
Yeah. Yeah, a nice cheese. Yeah.
I mean, you can have a full-on, sausage, bean, and... Oh, well...
yeah, a steak slice.
A steak
yes, why
he
not?
Say breakfast pastries.
Cornish pasty with half a bottle of peppercorn sauce dipped in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I like cinnamon swirls, pano raisins.
Oh, good shout.
I mean, I like pan au chocolats and croissants. I'm just trying to think of other ones that we've not talked about.
Ones,
a savoury thing like a Gruyere cheese twist.
What about those bacon and cheese, like?
Yeah, the turnover ones.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I want one of them.
Yeah. I want one of them. I'm gonna get bacon into it.
But what if? I mean, I suppose your usual breakfast is not going to be a full English every morning, is it?
No,
but, I mean, I'm big, but Jesus Christ, I'd be dead.
I do think, if you had to have this as every breakfast forever, and it didn't affect you health-wise, you would have to throw in the odd, like, lunch full English to balance it out, so you got to at least have the odd one, you know?
If you could wake up in the morning and eat 3 pastries instead of your usual breakfast with no health... It's a weird question. I don't think I can
maybe
answer.
He's just asking us, would we do it? Would we swap our... would I swap my Alpen for 3 pastries if it didn't matter?
And Jesus Christ, of course we would.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's such a great... that's a superpower, essentially.
Yeah, I think is the universal answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Game from June 2024 you're looking forward to. I really should have opened that document.
God.
What's in June?
I didn't eat.
Fireside, Monster Hunter Stories and 2, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Vengeance, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Luigi's mentioned 2, Blood. They're the sort of big ones.
Yeah, I mean Elden Ring.
I think. Yeah,
for
probably.
Me, it's finally getting to play Shin Megami
unless
5, yeah.
Unless Mana gets shadow dropped in June as a surprise because it said summer, didn't it? Did it say summer?
Probably, yeah. No, I mean I'm Elden Ring. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's. Feels like it's been forever, but also I'm not. I weirdly do kind of want to play Vengeance.
You played
the original as well, RPGs this year. I have,
Apparently not.
I just haven't played enough JRPGs this year. I don't think so. I think maybe for Shin Megami Tensei 5,
I need to finish any one of the ones I've started first before.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you say, Lyle? Sorry.
I said Shin Megami Tensei.
Okay, cool.
Vengeance, Live, whatever order those words are.
I'm also going to need Adam's help with this. We had 6 big indies released in the last 2 weeks. I think I need to know what those 6 would be.
Oh, okay.
What are you? I've got to put my top 3, so I need to know what the 6 are.
A little bit. I think which were the 6. I mean
the 6, the specific 6 that count as the big ones.
I'd say Lorelei is one.
Yeah, I think. I mean that would be on mine. Because I know that.
Say Animal Well is one.
I'd assume so again, yeah.
I think Crow Country's probably one.
Yeah.
Heading Out,
I do want to try that.
Heading Out is Hades is indie, isn't it? Hades 2.
Is it? Is that still considered?
Well, they're not published by anyone. They're an indie studio publishing their own games. I mean, the answer for me is Crow Country. I think of those. Yeah, I think Crow Country is my favourite of those. Of the. Sort of
I still
indies.
haven't played Hades 2.
Oh shit! Well, yeah, you see, technically it's early access, so I'm not counting it in my head.
Yeah. But I need
It's
to.
very
I
good,
love
but-
Hades. I will get round to it, but it's, yeah.
I really like Crow Country. Like, I really do think it's almost
It's
like a
short,
weird
right? That
curio.
one.
Yeah, it's definitely it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's about animal.
Short
wildlife.
by today's standards, not like not 10
Yeah.
minutes,
No,
but
I
short
think,
by
yeah.
today's
For me, it's Crow
standards, 2
Country.
hours.
And for you, it's Lorelei. What about you, Lyle?
For me, it's Animal Well. So yeah, all different
I
answers.
could go.
That's our top 3.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so questions for Adam. What game limited edition from 2023 did you want to get but had to skip for whatever reason?
Right, I do have an answer for this, but I'm worried I'm not actually in the right year. So,
Right, okay.
Street Fighter
Exciting.
6 was last year, right?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
That then. I actually somehow didn't know it had one, somehow, until it came out, and I was like, oh, shit. But I would also say Sea of Stars. They did like some stuff later.
Yeah, the
so one of them
you have
two.
like the artwork and stuff with it.
Yeah, I
Does it
think
have the
so.
book?
Yeah.
Is that the book with it?
Might be, yeah. There's a few different versions of it, so like one of them two would be it for me, yeah, definitely. Reason is just money, and like I say, with Street Fighter 6, I actually didn't know.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of it somewhere, but I thought it was like a press kit.
Yeah,
It was only when a friend of mine, who was a listener, so hello to you, actually texted me a picture that he'd bought. I was like, what? And I was it's like one of those.
Yeah.
It's like finding out your favourite band's touring in a street next to you, and when you go to check, they've already sold out all the tickets. So
I mean, if they're performing in the street next to you, you can probably just hear them from your back
it's
garden.
not the same,
or
though, is
something.
it? You know, I'm not going to kick a fence down.
Maybe you should.
Yeah. What do you want to see from Fire Emblem next? A remake or a new game?
Huh. I wouldn't mind either, if I'm honest with you. Like, they're pretty consistently good. So
Yeah, they are.
I don't have any specific thoughts about it. Like, the 3DS one, was it Awakening?
Awakening, yeah.
Wouldn't be a bad one to remake because it was probably the one that kickstarted it all again for them. And I bet that would still play well. But it would also maybe would feel like it was missing elements because they really went into the social stuff from Three Houses onwards. So probably a new one. Probably.
Okay. Gonna try any of the Tekken 8, Street Fighter 6, or Guilty Gear DLC this month?
No, hopefully, and no. I would like to get back on Street Fighter 6 and play some of the new characters now Akira's out as well, but realistically, it's the best I can commit to is maybe. I won't uninstall that game. And every now and again I get an update, and I'm like, you're not going. But realistically, a lot happening.
Okay, so that's the end of your questions, Adam. Lyle, are you playing Samurai Warriors 4 DX? It just released on Steam a few days ago and is deck verified. That sounds like a statement that has a question mark at the end, but
it does sound like a statement, but sure, it's a question statement. I am not playing it currently. No, it's I really enjoyed Samurai Warriors for the not special version, the not special everything added version that this seems to be. And I also think I think they just sort of like shadow dropped it and it was just out and no one really knew about it. And when I have so much to do already, I'm not going to take a game that's already released to cover it, is generally the rule. So if it had been some sort of weird, quiet moment, which 2024 doesn't have, maybe I would have been like, yeah, sure, I'd like to play that. It was really good. But yeah, not for me, not now.
Given that rationale, it's pretty obvious what the answer to the next question is going to be then.
Exciting.
Are you playing Monster Hunter Stories 1? It was one of the best Pokemon-like games that looks better than the current Switch Pokemon games, even on 3DS. He's being a cunt there, but, are you playing it?
He is. No, I liked Stories 2. Stories 2 was really good. So, I mean, by that logic, Stories 1's probably also good, right? But yeah, not currently playing that. So yeah, there's my great answer to that one.
And what do you want to see from Vampire Survivors DLC next?
Oh Jesus, that's a fucking question, isn't it?
Horse armor.
Yeah, you're reckoning? Is that what you were going for?
No, I just, no idea.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I do really like what they've done with the last two, where they've been sort of like a separate, self-contained sort of adventure that you play, and then you get the new items in the main game for sort of like doing all the things you need to in this expansion, like in the expansion separate mode. So like I'd like them to do it like that again. I've really the properties they've taken of Among Us and Contra have been like really interesting ones to have as a crossover. I think I enjoyed the sort of wackiness of them forcing Among Us into Vampire Survivors more. So I guess something else silly. Oh, I know what it is. Parappa the Rapper is the next expansion, please.
It's fair.
We'll call it Vampire Survivors Gotta Believe.
Ah. Yeah.
Oh.
I was really with it, and then I was like,
I don't know how it would work, but they made it work with Among Us. Well, like, they can do it. They're great at that shit. They released this DLC and it always costs like £1.50 and is amazing.
Yeah.
So...
I assume they just sell so much of it that they're like,
by volume, I
have
imagine.
it for £1, we don't care.
Mm-hmm.
These ones, Chris, is your questions. Will we get a new listener correspondence theme in 2025? That's next year, by the way.
Well, I mean, I was hoping for one in 2024. I've given some visual gold to the team recently, so I'm
the
amazed.
theme needs vocals. It needs a performance to make a song out of.
Oh.
Like, it would need to be like a new theme. Like, you'd have to sing it in a different way.
I assumed it was just going to be remixed. Sorry.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
because then it requires less effort from you.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're.
I mean, how many different ways do you want me to say Chris Hyde's listener correspondence? Yeah,
there's one more right there.
No, I would say
just
that was a little too
monotonous.
monotone. It needs to have some sort of cadence to the.
I've got no range whatsoever when it comes to.
Yeah, but you thought that, and yet there's a whole theme with you singing. Chris Hyde's. Do, 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 do.
You could use part of that as a bit of a change.
I've got a good 7 months to figure this out. So
yeah, fair enough. He also he says, I assume this. I'm so glad, by the way, that Lyle and I aren't being asked this because I am not answering this question. I assume you, Chris Hyde, regularly play all platforms. If someone asked you to recommend just one platform for gaming, what would your number one and two picks be?
That's a great question. Yeah. Someone asked you for just one. Why would you ignore them and give them one and two?
No, I think what he means, the way I interpret this, is if someone says, like, I can just have one, what are your top 2 picks? And I can pick between the two. That's
okay, right, yeah.
Let's not take the piss out of the listeners too much.
I mean, yeah, to be fair.
And it's console war shit. That's why I'm glad
No, I mean,
don't have to answer.
I don't regularly play all the platforms. My Xbox is a glorified, it protects my desk from getting a square of dust underneath it.
Wow.
So that's what that does. I very rarely turn on the Xbox at the moment.
Can we click this for like the Xbox Reddit or something, please?
No, they'll find it.
There's just
be
so
fair,
because of that,
not
like,
agreeing with that statement in any way.
If there was no, there aren't a lot of exclusives for Xbox, so that's the reason. So I don't turn it on. If I had 2 recommendations, they're probably going to be shit. I was going to say PC and PlayStation because they are the ones I play the most on. But then that means I can never have Nintendo games again.
Which is why I was really glad. But either way, you are excluding. I think PC is a lock, isn't it? Just because of the sheer volume.
So I'm going to have to say PC and Switch because even though I play a lot of the console I play the majority of is the PS5, I can't not have Nintendo games, and most of the PS5 games get released on PC anyway. So
just to be clear, you're now saying you're going to play FIFA and Call of Duty and stuff on a PC now, which is fine. You can do that.
I'd rather do that than never play Mario or Zelda again.
Yeah, I mean, not that I'm agreeing with that. The previous statements are not affiliated with me, Adam, or GodIsGeek.com
anyone
as a whole.
else in the world.
No.
I mean, to be fair, he doesn't care about your opinions on this. He's asked for mine.
Asking you.
Yeah.
Well, let's finish on the last one then. He says, thoughts on light or dark roast coffee? Which do you like more? Also glad that this has been asked to not me because I don't understand the difference.
Yeah, so I'm not an expert, but like I think I prefer darker roast coffee. Just I'm not an expert. Like I haven't tried like a million.
No, it's just I've never heard you
Different
say
things.
that. Like it was just it's
About anything.
Earlier on, it was like Adam's an idiot. He can't do maths, and now you're like, I'm not an expert. So it just took me by
I
surprise.
mean,
a little bit.
I'm being humble. Like I am.
Humble, yeah,
Like, I
very
don't
humble.
promote
Okay, I
it.
understand.
Like I'm the best at everything.
Yeah.
So I prefer dark roast just because I think that they're more flavorful. There are some light roasts that I do enjoy. Actually, this is going to make me sound such a sheep. I actually quite like the Starbucks blonde roast. I think that's actually really nice. The main one they use in the stores. But yeah, a lot of the ones that I end up constantly coming back to tend to be the darker roast coffees. Are just the smell of it is nicer, and the taste just packs more of a punch, which is what I need when I'm having coffee. I need it to. That's what I've been having. I've been having a iced coffee during the.
What
the
kind
pod.
of iced coffee? Light or dark?
Oh, I've got a darker roast in the machine at the moment. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's like good.
play the jingle, you miserable cunt.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to tell me. I can't do it otherwise.
Chris Hyde, listen to correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde.
I was sort of thinking the jingle naturally needs like I've just realised it needs like an alternative ending because it's time for Chris Hyde's correspondence. Now it needs like the second one needs to be like, and that was Chris Hyde.
Yeah, we need
Well,
that's the 2025
That's the
edition we
challenge.
need.
We need the backing of the outro.
I love the fact that it's been live for about 3 years, and we're like, shit, it's got a fundamental
Doesn't
flaw
make
in the
sense.
second half.
Pretty much. Listen, that's a podcast for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you go to patreon.com/GodIsAGeek where you'll find out more about getting it early, and soon we'll be able to drop our exclusively Patreon-based podcast that we alluded to earlier. We'll talk about perhaps next episode or whenever, but you'll find out first on there, and there's Discord where you'll you can hear about that sort of stuff as well. You can also watch us, the regular weekly podcast in video form on youtube.com/GodIsAGeek, and find us on all the social media aspects that, those aspects. Did I mean to say aspects then, or am I tired?
No, but it did stop you from saying social mediums.
And that's
It
what I
did.
was trying to do. I was
so
trying
instead
to not
you
say
said social media
mediums.
aspects, which is not even a thing.
No, it's not even
Yeah.
a sentence, is it? I was trying really hard to, because there was part of me as I was saying it was like, do I just lean into it and just say it all the time? I was like, no, I'm not an old man, yeah. So, but then I said social media aspects, which makes it's not a sentence. It ain't. Thank you to Lyle and to Chris for being here on this episode, and yeah, we will speak to you next week or whenever you choose to listen. Bye bye for now.